One honest opinion, the black woman who showed the billionaire his future. Kenneth stood in front of a painting he'd paid $40,000 for and felt absolutely nothing. He'd been numb for years, until a beautiful stranger walked up and asked the one question no one else dared: do you actually like any of this, or are you just doing what you're supposed to do? Close your eyes for just a moment. Think about the last time a story made you feel something real. Made your heart race. Made tears fall without permission. Made you remember why being human is so beautifully complicated. That's what we do here at CJ Stories. Whether you're returning or just discovering us, welcome home. This is your safe space for tears, laughter, hope, and everything in between. Today's story will take you somewhere unexpected. It'll make you think. It'll make you feel. And I promise you, you won't see the ending coming. But here's the thing, the magic only works if you stay till the very end. No skipping. Just you, me, and a story that might just change how you see the world. If it moves you, let me know you're here, subscribe, like, and share this with someone whose heart needs touching today. Ready? Let's step into today's story. Kenneth Phillips stood in front of a painting he'd paid $40,000 for and felt absolutely nothing. The gallery reception hummed around him, Charleston's elite sipping champagne, discussing brushstrokes and composition with the kind of confidence that came from money rather than actual knowledge. Kenneth had been coming to these events for 6 years, ever since his tech company's acquisition had made him wealthier than he'd ever imagined possible. He was 37 now, born in 1987, and he'd spent the last half-decade collecting art he didn't particularly like for walls he barely looked at. It's extraordinary, isn't it? A woman in diamonds materialized at his elbow. The way Morrison captures light. Revolutionary. Kenneth made a non-committal sound. The painting was fine. They were all fine. None of them made him feel the way he'd expected art to make him feel when he'd started this hobby, or investment strategy, or whatever the hell it had become. His phone buzzed. Another email from his mother about Thanksgiving plans. Another reminder that he'd be 40 in 3 years and still showing up to family dinners alone. His engagement to Victoria had ended in 2017, when he was 29 and still believed that checking all the right boxes would somehow add up to happiness. 7 years later, he'd checked every other box he could think of, except the one that actually mattered. He excused himself from the woman and moved toward the back of the gallery, where it was quieter. That's when he saw her. She was standing in front of a massive abstract piece, her head tilted, completely still. While everyone else circulated and networked, she just stood there, looking. Really looking. She was black, early 30s maybe, wearing a simple navy dress that somehow looked more elegant than all the designer labels floating around the room. Her hair was natural, pulled back in a low bun, and she had the kind of face that made you want to know what she was thinking. Kenneth found himself walking toward her without deciding to. "What do you see?" he asked. She didn't startle, didn't turn right away. Just kept looking at the painting. "Chaos pretending to be order," she said finally. "Or maybe order pretending to be chaos. I haven't decided yet." That's remarkably honest for a gallery opening. Now she looked at him. Her eyes were dark brown, direct. Should I have said something about the revolutionary use of negative space? Most people would have. Most people are trying to impress someone. She turned back to the painting. "I'm just trying to figure out if I actually like it." Kenneth laughed, an actual laugh, not the polite sound he usually made at these things. And, still deciding. She moved to the next piece, a smaller canvas dominated by harsh red slashes. He followed. "Kenneth Phillips," he said, offering his hand. "Melissa Goodman." Her handshake was firm, brief. She was already looking at the red painting, her expression thoughtful. "What about this one?" "Angry," she said immediately. "And honest about it. I like that better." "You prefer angry art?" "I prefer art that isn't pretending to be something it's not." She glanced at him. "Do you actually like any of the pieces here, or are you just doing what you're supposed to do?" The question caught him off guard. No one asked him things like that. "What makes you think I'm here out of obligation?" "You've been staring at paintings like they're tax returns." She said it matter-of-factly, not unkindly. "And you have that look people get when they're somewhere they think they should want to be but don't." Kenneth stared at her. "Are you always this direct with strangers?" "Usually. It saves time." She moved to another painting. "So which is it? Obligation or genuine interest?" He followed her again, drawn by something he couldn't name. "I thought it was genuine interest. I've been collecting for 6 years. And I'm standing here wondering why I own paintings that don't make me feel anything." Melissa nodded like this made perfect sense. "That's something, at least. Self-awareness. You're not what I expected at a Charleston gallery opening." "What did you expect?" "Someone trying to sell me something. Someone impressed by." He gestured vaguely at himself, the room, the world of money and status he'd been swimming in. By a man in an expensive suit looking lost in an art gallery? She smiled slightly. I'm a middle school art teacher. I'm here because my friend's cousin is one of the artists, and I got a free ticket. I'm not trying to sell you anything, and I'm definitely not impressed by people who buy art they don't like. Kenneth felt something shift in his chest. When was the last time someone had talked to him like this? Like he was just a person, not a portfolio? Which piece is your friend's cousin's work? The sculpture in the corner. The one everyone's been walking past because it doesn't match their color schemes. He looked where she indicated. A bronze piece, abstract but somehow organic, tucked away near the restrooms. Show me. She led him through the crowd, weaving between clusters of people who didn't even glance their way. When they reached the sculpture, Kenneth understood immediately why it had been relegated to the corner. It was strange, asymmetrical, challenging. Beautiful in a way that wouldn't photograph well for Instagram. Tell me what you see, Melissa said. Growth, he said slowly, surprising himself. Something breaking through. Becoming. She looked at him with new interest. Okay. So you're not completely dead inside. Thanks. That's a compliment. A lot of people who've been doing what they're supposed to do for long enough forget how to see anything real. Kenneth studied the sculpture, then studied her. How old are you? 33. Born in 1991. Why? Just wondering if everyone in their early 30s is this brutally honest, or if it's just you. Just me, mostly. My friends keep telling me to develop a filter. She touched the sculpture gently, reverently. My friend Naomi made this. She's been working metal for 8 years, barely makes rent, but she keeps making things because she has to. That's real. And what I do isn't. I don't know what you do. She met his eyes. Is it? Before he could answer, a gallery assistant approached with a champagne tray. Melissa took a glass. Kenneth waved it away. Not drinking, she asked. Not tonight. I want to remember this conversation. Something flickered in her expression, acknowledgement, maybe, or the beginning of interest. It's just a conversation. Is it? She sipped her champagne, considering him. What do you do, Kenneth Phillips? Besides collect art you don't like? I sold a cybersecurity company 3 years ago. Now I invest in other people's companies. Help them scale, strategize, exit. Ah? So you're very wealthy and very bored. He laughed again. God, when was the last time he'd laughed twice in one night? That's one way to put it. What's another way? Successful and searching. For what? I'll let you know when I find it. They stood there looking at Naomi's sculpture, not talking, just being. Around them, the gallery reception continued, the networking, the posturing, the careful dance of people who measured everything by value and status. But in this corner, next to a piece of art that no one else wanted to see, Kenneth felt more present than he had in months. Do you have a card? He asked suddenly. I'm a teacher. We don't have cards. A phone number? She looked at him for a long moment. Why? Because I'd like to take you to dinner. Somewhere where we can talk about art you actually like. Or anything else you want to talk about. You don't know anything about me. I know you're honest. I know you see things clearly. I know talking to you for 10 minutes has been more interesting than the last 6 years of gallery openings combined. That's a low bar. It's a true bar. Melissa finished her champagne and set the glass on a nearby pedestal. Here's what I know about you, Kenneth. You're rich, you're bored, and you're looking for something real. But here's the thing, I'm not a hobby. I'm not some authentic experience you can collect like these paintings. The words should have stung, but they didn't. They felt honest. Fair. You're right, he said. I'm sorry. That was presumptuous. She studied his face, seemed to find something there worth reconsidering. Ask me again. Differently. I'd like to get to know you, Melissa. If you're open to that. Not because you're different from what I'm used to, but because I like how I feel when I'm talking to you. Like I can be honest too. Better. She pulled out her phone. Give me your number. If I decide I want to continue this conversation, I'll text you. He rattled off his number, watched her save it under, Kenneth, Gallery. Just Kenneth, Gallery, he asked. Not Kenneth, boring rich guy. I'll update it if necessary. But she was smiling. I should get back to Naomi. She's probably wondering where I disappeared to. Before you go, what do you actually do? Besides teaching? I teach middle school art at Sanders Academy. I paint when I can. I volunteer at the community center on weekends, teaching drawing to kids who can't afford classes. I take care of my mom, who's been dealing with rheumatoid arthritis since 2022. She said it all simply, factually. That's my life. It's not glamorous. It sounds real. It is. She hesitated, then added, "My dad passed in 2021. I was 30 when it happened. Mom had a rough time after, stopped taking care of herself, and the arthritis got worse. So I moved back home. That's why I'm in Charleston. I'm sorry about your father." "Thank you." She touched the sculpture again, a gesture of goodbye to the art or the moment or both. "I'll think about your dinner invitation, Kenneth. No promises." "That's fair." She started to walk away, then turned back. "For what it's worth. That painting you were staring at when I first saw you? It's terrible. You were right to feel nothing." Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd near the front of the gallery. Kenneth stood there alone with Naomi's sculpture, feeling more awake than he had in years. His phone buzzed. His assistant, confirming Monday's meetings. Kenneth looked at his calendar, back-to-back investments, strategy sessions, networking lunches. All the things he was supposed to do. All the boxes he was supposed to check. He thought about Melissa's question, "Do you actually like any of the pieces here, or are you just doing what you're supposed to do?" The answer had been immediate and uncomfortable. He'd been doing what he was supposed to do since his engagement ended. Hell, maybe since before that. Building a life that looked right from the outside while feeling hollow on the inside. He pulled up the gallery catalog on his phone and found Naomi's sculpture. Emergence, it was called. Priced at $8,000, a fraction of what he usually spent. He flagged it for purchase. Then he did something he never did. He left the gallery early, skipping the speeches and the networking and all the obligatory rituals. He walked out into the Charleston night, down King Street with its oak trees and historic charm, past the boutiques and restaurants spilling light onto the sidewalk. His phone rang. His mother. "Hi, Ma," he said. "Kenneth, sweetheart. Did you get my email about Thanksgiving?" "I did. Sorry, I meant to respond. Are you bringing anyone this year?" The question was gentle but pointed. His mother had stopped pushing after Victoria, but she hadn't stopped hoping. "I don't know yet," he said, surprising himself. Maybe. She sounded cautiously optimistic. "Did you meet someone?" "I met someone. I don't know if it's something yet." "Well." He could hear the smile in her voice. "That's more than you've said in 7 years. What's her name?" "Melissa. She's an art teacher. And she told me all my art is terrible." His mother laughed, the sound warm and familiar. "I like her already." They talked for a few more minutes about Thanksgiving plans, about his sister's kids, about nothing important. When he hung up, Kenneth realized he was smiling. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Melissa. From the gallery. The sculpture you were looking at? That's the one you should buy. Everything else in that gallery was pretending. That piece is honest." His heart did something stupid in his chest. He typed back, "Already bought it. Dinner this weekend?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Saturday. 7 p.m., somewhere quiet where we can actually talk. Not trying to impress me with expensive restaurants. Just good food and honest conversation. Deal? I know a place." "Kenneth?" "Yeah? I'm looking forward to it. That scares me a little." "Me too," he typed. "The good kind of scared. We'll see." Kenneth stood on King Street, tourists and locals flowing around him, his phone warm in his hand. He felt something he hadn't felt in years, anticipation. Not for a deal or an exit or another box checked. For a conversation. For the possibility of something real. He thought about that painting he'd been staring at when Melissa first approached. $40,000 for something that made him feel nothing. He'd spent 7 years like that, collecting experiences and accomplishments and relationships that looked right but felt empty. And then a woman with honest eyes and no filter had asked him what he actually liked, and he'd realized he didn't know anymore. Saturday suddenly felt very far away. He walked back to his car, a Tesla, because that's what successful tech entrepreneurs drove, and sat in the quiet for a moment before starting the engine. His calendar pinged with reminders for the week ahead. Meetings, calls, obligations. But Saturday was different. Saturday was a woman who saw through him in 10 minutes and decided he might be worth a conversation anyway. Kenneth drove home to his historic house south of Broad Street, the kind of address that meant something in Charleston, and for once, the emptiness of it bothered him. All this space. All this carefully curated success. And no one to share it with who actually gave a damn about who he was underneath it all. He poured himself a whiskey and stood in his living room, looking at the paintings on his walls. Melissa was right. They were all terrible. Beautiful, expensive, and completely soulless. He pulled out his phone and looked at her text again. That piece is honest. When was the last time someone had described him that way? When was the last time he'd been honest with himself? Kenneth set down his whiskey and opened his laptop. He had 5 days until Saturday. 5 days to figure out who he actually was when he stopped doing what he was supposed to do. 5 days to become worth the kind of honesty Melissa Goodman offered so freely. It felt like the first real deadline he'd had in years. Kenneth arrived at Fleet Landing 15 minutes early on Saturday evening. He'd chosen the restaurant carefully, waterfront views of Charleston Harbor, excellent seafood, but unpretentious. The kind of place where the food mattered more than being seen. He'd requested a table on the deck, outside where they could watch the sunset over the water and actually hear each other talk. Now he sat there feeling like a teenager before prom, checking his phone every 30 seconds. A text from Melissa came through at 6:58, parking. Be there in 2 minutes. Please tell me you didn't get us a table inside where everyone can stare. He smiled and typed back, outside deck. Water view. No audience. Good call. Kenneth stood when he saw her approaching. She wore a coral-colored dress, her hair loose around her shoulders in natural curls, and he forgot whatever greeting he'd been planning. Hi, he managed. She smiled, and something in his chest settled. This is nice. I was worried you'd pick somewhere with a wine list thicker than a phone book. They have one of those too, but I thought we could skip the pretense. Appreciate that. She sat down, and he took his seat across from her. The sun was starting its descent, painting the harbor in shades of amber and rose. Their server appeared with water and menus. Melissa ordered a glass of white wine. Kenneth stuck with sparkling water. Still not drinking? She asked when the server left. I like being clear-headed around you. You notice everything. Occupational hazard. You spend enough time with 12-year-olds, you learn to catch every detail. They're terrible liars. She looked out at the water. This really is beautiful. How long have you lived in Charleston? 4 years. Moved here in 2020, right after everything shut down. Figured if I was going to work from home indefinitely, I might as well have a view. From where? Silicon Valley originally. That's where the company was based. But I'm from Ohio. Small town outside Cleveland. He paused. Not the origin story people usually expect when they hear about the tech sale. What do they expect? Stanford dropout. Garage startup. The whole mythology. Melissa laughed. Let me guess. State school and an actual plan. Ohio State, computer science degree, and yeah, a very boring, methodical plan. He felt himself relaxing into the conversation. What about you? Charleston native? Born here, left for college, came back 3 years ago when my dad got sick. Her expression shifted slightly, and he noticed. He had cancer. Pancreatic. It was fast, diagnosed in March of 2021, gone by June. I was living in Atlanta, teaching at a private school, and I just packed up and came home. That must have been hard. It was the easiest decision I ever made. She met his eyes. He was my dad. Where else would I be? Their wine and water arrived. Melissa took a sip, seemed to gather her thoughts. After he passed, Mom fell apart for a while. She'd been his whole world, you know? 40 years together. And then the arthritis got worse. Stress does that sometimes. By 2022, she could barely open jars. Couldn't paint anymore, and that had been her outlet. Melissa turned her glass slowly. So I stayed. Got the job at Sanders Academy. Moved into my old bedroom. It's not what I planned, but it's what matters. Your mom painted? Still does, just differently. I set up an easel she can use while sitting, got her these special grips for brushes. She works smaller now, but she works. Melissa smiled. She's actually really good. Better than me, though she'd never admit it. Kenneth found himself leaning forward, drawn in. Do you paint like her? I paint like me. Abstracts mostly. Lots of color, lots of emotion. Mom's more representational, landscapes, portraits. She sees the world as it is. I see it as it feels. I'd like to see your work sometime. Maybe. She gave him an appraising look. If this goes well. What would well look like? You tell me. What are you hoping for here, Kenneth? The question was direct, typical Melissa. He appreciated it. Honestly? I don't know yet. But I know I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since Tuesday. I know I want to understand how you see things. And I know I haven't felt this interested in getting to know someone in a very long time. How long? 7 years, probably. Maybe longer. Since your engagement ended. He blinked. I didn't tell you about that. You mentioned you'd been collecting art for 6 years. You have the energy of someone who threw himself into hobbies after a breakup. And you're 37 with no ring, no +1 habits, no photos on your phone home screen. She shrugged. I pay attention. Clearly. He sat back, impressed and slightly unnerved. Her name was Victoria. We were together 4 years, engaged for 6 months. It ended in 2017, when I was 29. She wanted the version of me that fit her life plan. I wanted to be enough as I was. Turns out those were incompatible goals. Did you love her? I thought I did. Looking back, I think I loved the idea of checking that box. Being settled. Building the life you're supposed to build. He traced a line on the table. After it ended, I told myself I'd figure out what I actually wanted. Instead, I just found more boxes to check. Better boxes, more expensive boxes, but still just boxes. Their server returned for their orders. Melissa chose the she-crab soup and scallops. Kenneth ordered the flounder. When they were alone again, Melissa leaned forward. So what do you actually want, Kenneth? If you're not checking boxes. I'm still figuring that out. But I know it involves feeling something real. Mattering to someone beyond what I can provide or invest in or solve. He held her gaze. I know it involves being seen clearly, even the parts that aren't impressive. And you think I see you clearly? I think you're the first person in years who's even tried. Melissa considered this, took another sip of wine. Okay. My turn to be honest. Please. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. My life is full, Kenneth. I teach 23 kids who need me. I take care of my mom. I volunteer every Saturday morning at the community center, teaching drawing to kids whose parents can't afford art classes. I paint when I can find time, which isn't often. She set down her glass. I don't have space for someone who's figuring himself out. I don't have energy to be someone's journey of self-discovery. The words were firm but not unkind. Kenneth felt the truth of them. That's fair, he said. Can I ask what you do have space for? I don't know. Maybe nothing right now. Maybe someone who already knows who they are and just wants to share that with someone else. She paused. What I don't have space for is drama. Games. Someone who needs me to fix them or complete them or give their life meaning. I'm not asking for any of that. Then what are you asking for? Time. Conversation. The chance to know you. He leaned forward. I'm not looking for you to fix me, Melissa. I'm looking for someone real enough that I want to fix myself. She studied him for a long moment. That's both better and more terrifying. Why terrifying? Because it means you're serious. And I haven't had serious in a long time. Their food arrived, beautiful and steaming. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the sun sink lower over the harbor. A pelican dove into the water nearby, emerged with a fish. Tell me about your students, Kenneth said. What are you teaching them right now? Melissa's whole face changed when she talked about her kids. She told him about Jaden, who'd discovered he could draw faces with photographic accuracy. About Maya, who only wanted to paint in shades of blue. About Marcus, who'd been failing every class until he started expressing his anger through sculpture and suddenly found a reason to show up to school. They're at that age where everything feels impossible and urgent at the same time, she said, gesturing with her fork. 13 years old, nothing makes sense, their bodies are betraying them, their friends are monsters one day and soulmates the next. Art gives them a way to process all of that without having to explain it. You really love it. I really do. Even on the hard days. She took a bite of scallop. What about you? Do you love what you do? Kenneth thought about it. I love the puzzle of it. Taking a company from struggling to sustainable. Seeing potential no one else sees and helping bring it to life. But the actual day-to-day? The meetings and negotiations and performance metrics? That's just work. What would you do if money wasn't a factor? It hasn't been a factor since 2021. That's part of the problem. Okay, different question. What did you love before you started doing what you were supposed to do? No one had asked him that in years. Kenneth searched his memory. Building things. Not companies, just things. I used to code for hours, creating programs that served no purpose except I wanted to see if I could. Games, mostly. Weird little experiments. He smiled at the memory. I had this idea once for a game that taught kids coding through storytelling. Never built it. Got busy with actual profitable work. Why not build it now? Because I'm 37 years old running a venture capital firm. So that's not what people like me do with their time. Melissa set down her fork and looked at him steadily. Kenneth, do you hear yourself? You just said money isn't a factor, you're not happy with your day-to-day work, and when I ask what you'd love to do, your answer is something that would actually help kids. But you won't do it because of what people expect. He sat with that. You're right. I know I'm right. I'm a teacher. We're right about everything. She smiled to soften it. Here's what I see. You're so worried about doing what you're supposed to do that you've forgotten you're allowed to want things just because you want them. When did you figure that out? When my dad died. Her voice was quiet. I was 30 years old, living in Atlanta, dating a guy who wanted me to be more ambitious, climb higher, want more. And then I got the call that Dad had cancer, and none of that mattered anymore. I came home. The boyfriend called me a quitter. Said I was wasting my potential. What did you say? I said potential for what? A bigger salary? A fancier title? What's the point of any of it if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, with the people I love, doing work that matters to me? She finished her wine. He married someone else 6 months later. Someone more ambitious. I painted my feelings about it and moved on. Do you regret it? Not for a second. I got 2 more months with my dad. I was there when he died. I helped my mom through the worst grief of her life. And I love my kids at Sanders, even the ones who throw paint at each other. She met his eyes. That's real, Kenneth. That's a life that means something. Their server cleared their plates and offered dessert menus. They both declined, ordered coffee instead. The sun had set fully now, and the harbor lights reflected on the dark water. Around them, other couples talked and laughed, but Kenneth was only aware of Melissa. Can I ask you something personal? He said. You can ask. I'll decide if I answer. Why did you text me? After the gallery, you could have just let it go. She stirred cream into her coffee, thoughtful. Because you were honest about being lost. Most men I meet, they have it all figured out, or they pretend they do. You just admitted you've been doing things that don't make you happy because you think you're supposed to. That's rare. Is it good rare or concerning rare? Still deciding. She smiled. Ask me again at the end of the night. They talked for another hour. He told her about growing up in Ohio, about his mom who still called him every Sunday, about his sister who had 3 kids and a chaos-filled house he secretly envied. She told him about her community center kids, about the mural project they were planning, about her mom's art show coming up at a local coffee shop. Wait, your mom has a show? Kenneth leaned forward. When? Next month. First Saturday in December. It's small, just the coffee shop on Rutledge, but she's excited. Melissa looked pleased. First time she's shown her work publicly since Dad died. I'd like to come. If that's okay. You don't even know if you'll still be talking to me by December. I'm pretty sure I will be. Something shifted in her expression, softened. Okay. You can come. They split the check despite his protests. Melissa insisted, and he learned quickly that arguing with her was pointless. Outside the restaurant, the November air had turned cool. Melissa wrapped her arms around herself, and Kenneth fought the urge to offer his jacket. Too soon, too presumptuous. Thank you for tonight, she said. I had a really good time. Good rare or concerning rare? She laughed. Good rare. Surprisingly good rare. Can I see you again? Maybe. Probably. She tilted her head. What did you have in mind? There's a place I want to show you. If you're free next Saturday. What kind of place? The kind you can't Google. You have to trust me. Melissa studied him in the lamplight. I don't trust easily, Kenneth. I know. That's why I'm asking you to try. She pulled out her phone. Text me the details. If it sounds terrible, I reserve the right to bail. Deal. They stood there for a moment, neither quite ready to leave. A couple walked past them, hand in hand, and Kenneth felt the absence of touch like a physical thing. I should go, Melissa said. Mom's probably wondering if you turned out to be a serial killer. What will you tell her? That the jury's still out, but you have potential. She started toward the parking lot, then turned back. Kenneth? Yeah? That thing you mentioned. The coding game for kids. You should build it. Not because it's practical or profitable, but because it matters to you. That's reason enough. Before he could respond, she was walking away, her coral dress disappearing into the shadows between streetlights. Kenneth stood there watching until she reached her car, a sensible Honda Civic that was at least 10 years old. She waved before getting in, and he waved back. His phone buzzed as he walked to his own car. Home safe. Thank you again for tonight. I'm glad I took a chance on you. He sat in his Tesla, reading the message 3 times. Me too, he typed back. Sleep well, Melissa. The drive home felt different. The streets of Charleston, familiar and historic, seemed more vibrant somehow. Or maybe he was just paying attention for the first time in a while. At home, he poured himself a small whiskey and sat in his living room surrounded by terrible art. Instead of his usual emails or financial reports, he opened his laptop and pulled up old files. Code he'd written years ago. The skeleton of that game idea he'd mentioned to Melissa. He spent 2 hours playing with it, updating the language, expanding the concept. Not because he had to. Just because he wanted to. At midnight, his phone buzzed. Are you awake? His heart jumped. Yeah. You. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about our conversation. Good thoughts or concerning thoughts? Both. Mostly good. A pause. What are you doing right now? Working on that game idea I mentioned. The coding one for kids. Kenneth. Yeah? I like you. That's scary for me. He stared at the message, his chest tight. It's scary for me too, he typed. I haven't let myself actually feel something in a long time. What do we do about that? Take it slow? Be honest? See where it goes. Okay. I can do that. Another pause. Next Saturday. Where are you taking me? It's a surprise. Dress casual. Be ready for a drive. How long a drive? About an hour. Trust me. I'm working on it. That's all I'm asking. Good night, Kenneth. Good night, Melissa. He sat there with his phone, feeling like a different person than he'd been a week ago. All because a woman at a gallery had asked him what he actually liked, and he'd had the courage to admit he didn't know. Kenneth looked at the code on his screen, then at the paintings on his walls. Tomorrow, he decided, he'd start taking them down. All of them. Make room for art that actually meant something. Or maybe just empty walls until he found pieces worth keeping. He was 37 years old, and for the first time since his engagement ended, he felt like he was building toward something that mattered. Not because he was supposed to. Because he wanted to. That felt like progress. Kenneth picked Melissa up at 9 on Saturday morning, which earned him a surprised look when she opened the door. I thought you said casual, not crack of dawn, she said, but she was smiling. She wore jeans and a green sweater that brought out the warmth in her skin tone, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Trust me, we want to get there early. Before the crowds. There are crowds where we're going? On a good day, yes. Her mother appeared behind her in the doorway, a petite woman with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes. So you're Kenneth? Yes, ma'am. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Goodman. Call me Patricia. She studied him with the same directness her daughter had. You're taking my baby somewhere for the whole day and won't tell her where? Ma, Melissa said, her tone affectionate but warning. I promised to have her home safely, Kenneth said. And to feed her lunch. Patricia laughed. All right then. Melissa, take your jacket. It's supposed to get cold later. Yes, Ma. Melissa kissed her mother's cheek, grabbed a denim jacket from the coat rack, and followed Kenneth to his car. She seems wonderful, Kenneth said as they pulled away from the modest house in West Ashley. She is. Also relentless. She texted me 4 times this week asking about you. What did you tell her? That you're not a serial killer, you have good manners, and I'm cautiously optimistic. Melissa settled into the passenger seat. So where are we going? If I tell you, it ruins the surprise. I hate surprises. You'll like this one. They drove north out of Charleston, taking Highway 17 through the lowcountry. The November morning was clear and cool, the marshes golden in the sunlight. Melissa watched the landscape pass, occasionally commenting on egrets or the way the light hit the water. How was your week? Kenneth asked. Chaotic. One of my students decided to express his feelings about his parents' divorce by throwing clay at another student. We had a long talk about healthy emotional expression versus assault with ceramics. Kenneth laughed. How did that go? He wrote an apology and agreed to come to art club twice a week to work through his feelings in less projectile ways. Small victories. She glanced at him. What about you? I started working on that game. The coding one. Really? Really? Spent about 20 hours on it this week. Forgot to eat dinner twice because I was so focused. He merged onto I-26. Haven't felt that way about work in years. That's good, Kenneth. Really good. They talked easily as the miles passed. Kenneth told her about the concept for the game, how it would teach basic coding principles through storytelling and puzzle solving. Melissa told him about the mural project her community center kids were planning for the building's exterior wall. We're doing a whole thing about growth and community, she said. The kids are designing it together, which means a lot of negotiation and compromise. Turns out 12-year-olds have very strong opinions about color schemes. Are you helping with the actual painting? I'm supervising, mostly. Making sure nobody falls off the scaffolding or paints inappropriate things where parents can see them. An hour later, Kenneth pulled off the highway near McClellanville. We're going to the beach? Melissa asked. Not exactly. He drove through the small coastal town and turned onto a dirt road that led through maritime forest. Spanish moss hung from the live oaks, creating a canopy overhead. Finally, they reached a small parking area. Kenneth, where are we? You'll see. Come on. He grabbed a backpack from the trunk and led her down a sandy path. The sound of water grew louder. They emerged from the trees onto a pristine stretch of beach, completely empty except for shorebirds. This is Cape Romaine, Kenneth said. Most people don't know about this access point. It's technically part of the wildlife refuge. Melissa turned in a slow circle, taking it in. The beach stretched in both directions, untouched and beautiful. The Atlantic rolled in with steady rhythm. It's perfect, she said quietly. I found it a few months after I moved here. Come out sometimes when I need to think. He set down the backpack. I thought you might like it. I love it. They walked along the shoreline, shoes off, the November water cold on their feet. Kenneth had packed sandwiches and thermoses of coffee, and they sat on a piece of driftwood to eat, watching pelicans dive for fish. Can I ask you something? Melissa said, finishing her sandwich. Of course. What happened with Victoria? I mean, really happened. You said she wanted you to fit her life plan, but what did that actually look like? Kenneth took a sip of coffee, gathering his thoughts. She came from old money. Charleston old money, the kind with family trees and social obligations. When we met, I was 25 and hungry, building the company, working 100-hour weeks. She liked that, the ambition, the drive. But then the company succeeded, and I had money, and she wanted me to become a certain kind of person. What kind? The kind who cares about country club memberships and charity galas and being seen in the right places with the right people. She had this vision of what our life would look like, and I was supposed to fit into it. He stared out at the water. The weird thing is, I tried. For 4 years, I tried to be that person. Went to the events, made the donations, said the right things. And when I asked her to marry me, it was because that's what came next in the plan. What changed? My dad got sick. Heart attack, completely unexpected. He survived, but it shook me. Made me realize I was building a life that would look great in his obituary but would feel empty living it. Kenneth turned to face her. So I told Victoria I wanted to step back. Spend more time with family. Maybe move somewhere quieter. She said I was wasting my potential. That if I wasn't going to take advantage of the opportunities my success had created, she couldn't be part of that. She gave you an ultimatum. She did. Be the person she needed me to be, or she was done. He smiled without humor. I chose done. Broke off the engagement in May of 2017. I was 29, feeling like a complete failure, and my mom told me it was the first grown-up decision I'd made in years. Melissa reached over and took his hand. The gesture was simple, but it felt monumental. I'm glad you chose yourself, she said. They sat there holding hands, watching the waves. Kenneth felt something in his chest loosen, some tension he'd been carrying for 7 years. What about you? He asked. You mentioned a boyfriend in Atlanta. The one who called you a quitter. Derek. Melissa made a face. We dated for 2 years. Met at the school where I was teaching. He was a coach, very focused on winning, being the best, status. When I told him I was leaving to take care of my dad, he literally could not understand why. Said my dad had my mom, that I was throwing away my career for something that wouldn't change the outcome. That's cruel. It was honest, in his way. He really believed that career progression was the most important thing. That family obligations were something you outsourced or minimized. She squeezed Kenneth's hand. I realized we had completely different values. So when he said I had to choose, it wasn't even hard. I chose my dad. I'd choose my dad 1,000 times. Do you ever regret it? Never. I got to be there for him at the end. Got to tell him everything I needed to say. Derek's probably still coaching somewhere, climbing ladders, checking boxes. She looked at Kenneth. You would have liked my dad. He was a teacher too. History. Used to say that the only things worth doing were the things you'd be proud to explain to your grandkids. That's beautiful. He was beautiful. Kind and wise and so patient with my mom and me. Her voice caught slightly. When he died in June of 2021, I was 30 years old, and I felt like I'd lost my compass. He always knew what mattered. Always helped me see clearly when I got confused. Kenneth pulled her closer, and she leaned against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, just breathing together, listening to the waves. I haven't talked about him this much in a while, Melissa said finally. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling me. They walked further down the beach, collecting shells and sea glass. Melissa found a perfect sand dollar, intact and white. Kenneth spotted a piece of blue sea glass worn smooth by the ocean. For your mom, he said, handing it to her. For her next painting, maybe. Melissa looked at the sea glass, then at him, and something shifted in her expression. Something that looked like the beginning of falling. Kenneth, I need to tell you something. Okay. I'm starting to really care about you. And that's complicated. Why is it complicated? Because my life is full. Because I don't have room for something casual. Because if we keep doing this, I'm going to want it to be real, and real is scary. Kenneth stopped walking and turned to face her fully. I want real too, Melissa. I'm not here because I'm bored or looking for a distraction. I'm here because you make me want to be honest. About who I am, what I want, what scares me. What does scare you? That I'll mess this up. That I've been doing what I'm supposed to do for so long that I've forgotten how to just be with someone without performing. He took both her hands. That you'll see all of me and decide I'm not worth the effort. Kenneth. Her voice was soft. I already see you. That's not what scares me. Then what does? Before she could answer, her phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket, glanced at the screen, and her whole body went tense. It's my mom. She never calls when she knows I'm out unless something's wrong. She answered immediately. Ma? What's going on? Kenneth watched her face change as she listened. Fear, then determination. Okay, Ma, listen to me. Call 911 right now. I'm about an hour away, but I'm coming. Call them right now. She paused. I know you don't want to, but you need to. Please, Ma. For me. She hung up and looked at Kenneth, her eyes wide. I need to get home. Right now. My mom, her chest hurts, she can't breathe right. She's saying it's just anxiety, but she sounded scared. Let's go. They ran back to the car, Kenneth driving faster than he should on the dirt road. Melissa called 911 herself, giving them her mother's address, explaining the symptoms. They're sending an ambulance, she said after hanging up. But she won't answer when I call back. Kenneth, what if she collapsed? What if she's alone and scared and I'm an hour away? We'll get there. And the paramedics are closer. He merged onto the highway, his mind racing through the fastest route back to Charleston. Tell me about her symptoms again. Chest pain, trouble breathing, she said her arm felt strange. Melissa's hands were shaking. That's a heart attack. That's textbook heart attack. She has rheumatoid arthritis, she's on medication, she's been stressed about the art show, and I should have been paying more attention. This is not your fault. I left her alone all day to come to the beach with you. Kenneth heard the edge in her voice and understood it, not blame, but fear, looking for somewhere to land. Call the hospital. Tell them you're her daughter and you're on the way. They might be able to update you. She did, fingers fumbling with her phone. The hospital confirmed an ambulance had picked up Patricia Goodman and was en route to MUSC. No other information available. The drive back to Charleston felt endless. Melissa sat rigid in her seat, calling her mother's phone over and over with no answer. Kenneth drove as fast as he safely could, his own heart pounding. I can't lose her, Melissa said quietly. I can't lose her too. You won't. She's getting help. You don't know that. No. But I know she's strong. And I know she has you, and that's a reason to fight. Melissa didn't respond, just stared out the window at the passing landscape. Kenneth's phone rang through the car's Bluetooth. His assistant. Kenneth, I'm sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but we have a situation with the Brennan acquisition. They're threatening to pull out if we don't have an answer by Monday morning. Not now, Jenna. But this is a $12 million deal. You said it was priority. I said not now. He ended the call. Melissa looked at him. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. His phone rang again. His business partner this time. Kenneth declined the call. Kenneth, if you need to deal with work, there's nothing more important than getting you to your mom right now. Nothing. She reached over and gripped his hand, hard. They made it back to Charleston in 45 minutes. Kenneth drove straight to MUSC, pulled up to the emergency entrance. Melissa was out of the car before it fully stopped. Park and come find me, she called back. Kenneth watched her run through the automatic doors, then went to park the car. His phone showed 6 missed calls, 4 from his business partner, 2 from clients. A text from Jenna, Kenneth, we really need to talk about Brennan. This affects the whole quarter. He turned off his phone. Inside the hospital, he found Melissa at the emergency desk, trying to get information. I'm her daughter. Melissa Goodman. They brought her in maybe 30 minutes ago. Patricia Goodman, chest pain. The nurse checked her computer. She's being evaluated now. The doctor will come talk to you as soon as they know more. You can wait in the family area, second door on the left. The waiting area was nearly empty. Melissa paced while Kenneth sat, watching her, wanting to help and knowing there was nothing he could do. I should have been there, she said. I should have noticed she wasn't feeling well this morning. Melissa, you can't predict heart attacks. She's been complaining about being tired for weeks. I thought it was just the arthritis medication, but what if it was cardiac? What if I missed the signs because I was distracted? Distracted by what? She stopped pacing and looked at him. By you. By this. By feeling happy for the first time in years and not paying enough attention to the person who actually needs me. The words hit him hard. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's how I feel right now. A doctor emerged from the treatment area. Family of Patricia Goodman? Melissa rushed over. I'm her daughter. Is she okay? She's stable. It appears to be a cardiac event, but we've got her on medication and she's responding well. We're going to admit her for observation and run some more tests, but I think she's going to be fine. Melissa's knees nearly buckled with relief. Kenneth steadied her with a hand on her elbow. Can I see her? Melissa asked. In a few minutes. We're moving her to a room now. When the doctor left, Melissa turned to Kenneth. Her face was streaked with tears she hadn't let fall until now. She's okay, Kenneth said. She's okay. Melissa wiped her eyes. Kenneth, I'm sorry. What I said before, that wasn't fair to you. You're scared. It's okay. It's not okay. You dropped everything to get me here. You turned off your phone, you drove like a maniac, you stayed. She took a shaky breath. But I meant what I said too. I can't do this halfway. My mom needs me. My kids need me. I don't have space for something that's going to pull my focus when people are depending on me. Kenneth felt something cold settle in his stomach. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know if I can do this. Any of this. Not right now. A nurse appeared. Miss Goodman? You can see your mother now. Melissa looked at Kenneth, her expression torn. I need to go to her. I know. Will you wait? As long as you need. She disappeared through the doors, leaving Kenneth alone in the waiting area with the television playing silent news and the smell of antiseptic and fear. He sat down, turned his phone back on, and watched it light up with messages he couldn't bring himself to care about. Not when Melissa was in there trying to hold her world together. Not when he just felt something real for the first time in 7 years and watched it slip away because life had other plans. A text came through from Melissa an hour later. She's sleeping. They're going to keep her for a couple days. You should go home. I'm staying here tonight. Kenneth stared at the message, then typed back, I can bring you anything you need. Food, clothes, whatever. I'm okay. Thank you for everything today. The politeness of it felt like a door closing. He drove home as the sun set, the beautiful day turned dark and uncertain, and wondered if wanting something real was always going to mean losing it just when it started to matter. Kenneth didn't hear from Melissa for 3 days. He sent one text Sunday morning, thinking of you and your mom. Let me know if you need anything. Her response came 6 hours later, thank you. She's doing better. They're keeping her through Monday for observation. That was it. Monday morning, Kenneth sat in his office downtown, staring at spreadsheets for the Brennan acquisition that his business partner had saved by making executive decisions while Kenneth's phone was off. Jenna had rescheduled 4 meetings and fielded a dozen calls. Everyone was polite about it, but he could see the concern in their eyes. Kenneth Phillips didn't disappear. Kenneth Phillips didn't turn off his phone during business hours. Kenneth Phillips didn't let personal matters interfere with $12 million deals. Except he had. Kenneth? Jenna stood in his doorway. Your 2 o'clock is here. The Harrison startup pitch. He looked at his calendar. Right. The eager entrepreneur with the food delivery app that would revolutionize something or other. He'd agreed to this meeting 3 weeks ago. Can you reschedule? Jenna's eyebrows went up. You've already rescheduled twice. Then make it 3 times. He closed his laptop. I'm sorry, Jenna. I know I'm being difficult. You're being human. She came into the office and sat down. I've worked for you for 4 years. I've never seen you turn off your phone for anything. Who is she? Kenneth smiled despite himself. That obvious? You've checked your phone 17 times in the last hour. So yes. Jenna crossed her arms. Want to talk about it? Her mom had a heart attack Saturday. I took her to the hospital, and now she's pulling back because she thinks she can't handle a relationship and taking care of her mother at the same time. Can she? I don't know. Maybe not. But I wish she'd let me help instead of shutting me out. Jenna was quiet for a moment. My mom had a stroke when I was 28. I was engaged at the time, wedding planned, whole future mapped out. And when it happened, I told my fiancé I needed to postpone everything to take care of her. What did he say? He said he understood. But then weeks turned into months, and he started making comments about me being too devoted, too consumed by it. Started suggesting nursing homes and professional care. She met Kenneth's eyes. He wasn't wrong that I was consumed. But he was wrong to make me choose. What happened? I chose my mom. He married someone else a year later. Mom recovered mostly, and I don't regret my choice for a second. Jenna stood. My point is, Melissa's probably terrified right now. Terrified of losing her mom, terrified of letting you down, terrified of needing help. Give her space, but don't disappear. After Jenna left, Kenneth sat alone in his office. His phone showed a news alert about a tech IPO, 3 emails about potential investments, and nothing from Melissa. He opened his laptop and pulled up the coding game instead. He'd been working on a level where kids learned conditional logic through helping a character navigate a maze. The character had to make choices based on available information, trust their instincts, know when to move forward and when to wait. Kenneth stared at the screen and saw the metaphor staring back. He worked on the game until 7, then drove home to his empty house. The walls were bare now. He'd taken down all the terrible art over the weekend, leaving nothing but nail holes and the ghosts of frames. He'd meant to start looking for pieces he actually liked, but he hadn't gotten around to it. Now the emptiness felt appropriate. His phone rang. His mother. "Aye, Ma. You sound sad. What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just tired." "Kenneth David Phillips, I have known you for 37 years. Try again." He smiled despite everything. "Remember Melissa? The art teacher I mentioned? The one who told you your art was terrible? I liked her. Her mom had a heart attack Saturday. I took her to the hospital, and now she's pulling away. Says she can't handle a relationship and taking care of her mother." His mother was quiet for a moment. "That poor girl. How's her mother doing?" "Better, I think. She's home now. But Melissa won't really talk to me." "Give her time, honey. She's scared." "I know. But I want to help, and she won't let me." "That's because she doesn't know you well enough yet to trust that you won't leave when things get hard. She's protecting herself." His mother's voice was gentle. "You want to help? Show up. Not with grand gestures or solutions. Just show up and be steady. What if she tells me to leave? Then you respect that. But my guess is she's waiting to see if you will." After they hung up, Kenneth sat with that. Melissa had watched her father die. Had taken care of her mother through grief and illness. Had been called a quitter by someone who was supposed to love her. Of course she was protecting herself. The question was whether Kenneth was willing to prove he was different. Tuesday morning, he drove to the coffee shop on Rutledge where Patricia's art show was supposed to be in December. The owner, a woman named Claire, was arranging pastries in the display case. "Can I help you?" "I hope so. Patricia Goodman is supposed to have a show here next month." "Oh, yes. We're so excited about it." Claire's expression shifted. "Though I heard she was in the hospital. Is she all right?" "She's home now, recovering. But I wanted to ask, has anyone contacted you about postponing the show?" "No, it's still scheduled for December 7th. Kenneth pulled out his wallet and handed her his card. "If there are any costs associated with the show, setup, promotion, whatever you'd normally charge, bill me. And don't tell Patricia or her daughter. I want them to be able to focus on her health without worrying about this." Claire looked at the card, then at him. "You're Kenneth Phillips, the tech guy." "Yes, ma'am." "And you're doing this for Patricia?" "For her daughter, actually. Melissa. She's someone important to me, and this show is important to her mother. I'd like to make sure it happens." Claire studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "All right. I'll send you an invoice." "And Mr. Phillips? This is a kind thing you're doing." "It's the only thing I can do." He spent Tuesday and Wednesday working on the game, taking meetings, trying to focus. Wednesday evening, he drove to Sanders Academy and parked across the street at 3:15 when school let out. He watched kids pour out of the building, loud and chaotic and fully alive. Melissa emerged at 3:30, carrying a box of art supplies. She looked tired, her movements careful like she hadn't been sleeping well. Kenneth got out of his car and crossed the street. She saw him and stopped walking. "Kenneth. I'm sorry to show up unannounced. I just wanted to see if you were okay." "I'm fine. Mom's home, she's doing better." Melissa shifted the box in her arms. "You didn't need to come here." "I know. I wanted to." He gestured to the box. "Can I help you with that?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I'm taking these to my car. Around back." He carried the box while she walked beside him in silence. The November air was cool, the afternoon sun slanting through the live oaks that lined the school parking lot. "How are your students?" he asked. "Good. Chaotic. Normal." She unlocked her Civic, and he set the box in the trunk. "They made cards for my mom. 23 handmade cards telling her to feel better. Made her cry." "That's beautiful." "It is." Melissa closed the trunk and turned to face him. "Kenneth, what are you doing here?" "Really. Making sure you're okay. Letting you know I'm still here. I told you I couldn't do this right now. You said you didn't know if you could. That's different." He kept his voice gentle. "I'm not here to pressure you or make your life more complicated. I just wanted you to know that I haven't gone anywhere." Melissa leaned against her car, and he could see the exhaustion in her face. "My mom had a heart attack. She's 58 years old, and she almost died. The doctor said if I'd been an hour later calling 911, it could have been different. But you weren't. She's okay. This time." But she needs to change her medications, change her diet, reduce stress. She needs monitoring and help, and I'm all she has. Melissa's voice cracked slightly. And the thing that terrifies me is that I was at the beach with you, having a perfect day, while she was home alone having chest pains. What if she'd been too scared to call me? What if she'd waited and it had been too late? Kenneth understood then. This wasn't about him. This was about Melissa's fear that happiness came at the cost of vigilance. Can I tell you something? He said. Your mom called you. She knew you were out, knew you were an hour away, and she still called because she trusts you. Because you've shown her every day for 3 years that she can count on you. One morning at the beach doesn't change that. But what if it does? What if I get distracted by feeling happy and I miss something important? Then you're human. And you adjust. But cutting yourself off from happiness isn't protecting your mom. It's just punishing yourself for being alive. Melissa wiped her eyes. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand what it's like to lose a parent and then fear losing the other one. But I understand being scared. And I understand making yourself small because it feels safer than taking up space. She looked at him, really looked at him. Is that what you think I'm doing? I think you're an incredible person who gives everything to everyone else and won't let anyone give anything back to you. I think you're terrified that if you let yourself want something for yourself, it means you're selfish or negligent or not enough. He took a careful step closer. And I think you're wrong. A student called out from across the parking lot, waving at Melissa. She waved back, then turned back to Kenneth. I need time, she said quietly. I need to make sure my mom is stable and okay. I need to not feel like I'm being pulled in too many directions. Okay. How much time? I don't know. A few weeks, maybe. Through Thanksgiving at least. Kenneth felt the disappointment settle in his chest, but he nodded. Okay. I can give you that. Really? Really? But Melissa? I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready, I'm still going to be here. She searched his face. Why? You barely know me. We've had 3 dates. Why would you wait? Because in 3 dates, you've made me feel more real than I've felt in 7 years. Because you're worth waiting for. Because I think this could be something important, and I'm willing to be patient for something important. Melissa stepped forward and hugged him, sudden and tight. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling her shake slightly. Thank you, she whispered into his shoulder. For not being angry. For understanding. Nothing to be angry about. She pulled back, wiped her eyes again. I should get home. Mom's physical therapist is coming at 5. Go. Take care of her. He touched her cheek gently. And take care of yourself too. He watched her drive away, then sat in his car for a long moment before starting the engine. The next week was Thanksgiving. Kenneth drove to Ohio on Tuesday, spent Wednesday helping his mother cook while his sister's kids ran circles around the house. His father, healthy and vibrant at 65, helped the oldest grandson build something with Legos in the living room. Wednesday night, his mother found him on the back porch, staring at his phone. Have you heard from her? She sent a text yesterday. Said her mom is doing better, asked how I was. Very polite. Very careful. His mother sat beside him. You're really serious about this girl. I am. Which is terrifying because I barely know her, and she's asked for space, and I have no idea if this is going anywhere. Your father and I broke up twice before we got married. Kenneth looked at her in surprise. You did? First time, I thought he wasn't ambitious enough. I was 22 and had all these ideas about what my life should look like. Second time, he thought I was too focused on my career and not interested in family. We were both wrong, but we needed time to figure that out. How did you know to try again? Because even when we were apart, I missed him. Not the idea of him. Not what he represented. Just him. The way he made me laugh. The way he saw the world. She patted Kenneth's hand. If she's worth it, you'll find your way back to each other. Thanksgiving Day was warm and loud and full of family. Kenneth helped his nephew understand basic coding concepts, which led to 2 hours of them building a simple game together on his laptop. His sister pulled him aside while they were doing dishes. You seem different, she said. Lighter somehow. I met someone. The art teacher Mom mentioned? Yeah. It's complicated right now, but yeah. Complicated how? He explained about Patricia's heart attack, about Melissa needing space, about not knowing if she'd come back. His sister dried a plate thoughtfully. You know what I notice? You're not trying to fix it. Old Kenneth would have already made a plan, created a strategy, tried to solve the problem. You're just letting it be. I don't know what else to do. That's growth, little brother. That's actually being in something instead of managing it. Friday morning, as Kenneth was packing to drive back to Charleston, his phone rang. Melissa. His heart jumped. Hello? I'm sorry to bother you on Thanksgiving weekend. You're not bothering me. Is everything okay? Mom's fine. Good, actually. She's been doing her exercises, following her diet, driving me crazy with how well she's following doctor's orders. Melissa paused. I was calling because I wanted to hear your voice. Is that okay? That's more than okay. How's Ohio? Cold. Loud. Full of family. I taught my nephew some coding yesterday. That sounds nice. They talked for 20 minutes about nothing important, his family, her Thanksgiving with her mother and a few cousins, the progress on the mural at the community center. It was easy and comfortable, like no time had passed. Kenneth? Melissa said finally. Yeah? I've been thinking about what you said. About making myself small because it feels safer. About punishing myself for being alive. I'm sorry if that was too harsh. No, you were right. After my dad died, I told myself that being happy was disrespectful to his memory somehow. That if I was laughing or enjoying myself, it meant I'd forgotten him or moved on too quickly. Her voice was soft. And when Mom got sick, I doubled down on that. Told myself that taking care of her was all that mattered, that anything else was selfish. What changed? She did. We had a talk yesterday, and she asked me why I was always home. Asked if I was seeing anyone, doing anything for myself. I told her about you, about asking for space, and you know what she said? What? She said that my dad didn't raise me to be a martyr. That he'd be heartbroken to know I was making myself miserable out of some misguided sense of duty. Melissa laughed softly. Then she told me that if I let a good man slip away because I was scared, she'd be very disappointed in me. Kenneth's heart was pounding. Your mom sounds wise. She is. Annoyingly wise. Melissa took a breath. I'm not ready to jump back into everything yet. I still need to make sure she's stable, that I have systems in place. But I don't want to push you away either. Can we maybe try something in between? What does in between look like? Talking. Texting. Maybe seeing each other once a week when I can. Taking it slow but not taking it nowhere. I can absolutely do that. Yeah? Melissa, I'd wait months if that's what you needed. A few weeks of slow is nothing. She was quiet for a moment. I really like you, Kenneth. I really like you too. When are you back in Charleston? Sunday night. Can I see you Monday? After school? Absolutely. Where? My house. I want you to meet my mom properly. When she's not in a hospital bed. Kenneth felt something warm spread through his chest. Meeting her mother properly. That meant something. I'd love that. After they hung up, Kenneth finished packing with a lightness he hadn't felt in weeks. His mother caught him smiling at his phone. She called? She called. And we're taking it slow. But we're taking it somewhere. His mother hugged him tight. That's my boy. Patient when it matters. Kenneth drove back to Charleston on Sunday with Hope riding shotgun. He spent Monday morning in meetings that actually held his attention, worked on the coding game during lunch, and left the office at 3 to pick up flowers. At 5, he stood on Melissa's porch in West Ashley, holding a modest bouquet and feeling more nervous than he had in years. Melissa opened the door, and the smile on her face told him everything he needed to know. They were going to be okay. Melissa's house smelled like something wonderful cooking. Come in, she said, taking the flowers with a soft smile. Mom's in the kitchen pretending she's not excited to interrogate you. Kenneth followed her through the modest living room, noting the warm touches everywhere, family photos on the walls, handmade quilts draped over furniture, paintings that were clearly Patricia's work. This was a home, not just a house. Patricia stood at the stove, stirring something in a large pot. She turned when they entered, and Kenneth saw where Melissa got her direct gaze. So you're the man who carried my daughter's art supplies, Patricia said, wiping her hands on a towel. Yes, ma'am. Kenneth Phillips. It's good to see you looking so well. Better than last time you saw me, I hope. She gestured to the kitchen table. Sit down. Dinner won't be ready for another 20 minutes, which gives me plenty of time to decide if you're good enough for my daughter. Ma, Melissa said, but she was smiling. What? I had a heart attack. I'm allowed to be direct. I might not have time to be subtle. Patricia sat across from Kenneth, studying him. Melissa tells me you're very wealthy. I've been fortunate in business, yes. And you collect art you don't like. Kenneth laughed. Not anymore. I took it all down. My walls are empty now. Good. That shows you can admit when you're wrong. Patricia folded her hands. She also tells me you turned off your phone during a business emergency to take her to the hospital. That true? Yes, ma'am. Why? Because she needed to get to you. Nothing else mattered more than that. Patricia nodded slowly, then looked at her daughter. I like him. You've known him for 2 minutes, Melissa protested. I know what I need to know. He shows up when it matters. Patricia stood and went back to the stove. Kenneth, you eat chicken and dumplings? Yes, ma'am. One of my favorites. Good answer. Dinner was warm and easy. Patricia told stories about Melissa as a child, always drawing on walls and turning homework assignments into art projects. Melissa countered with stories about her father, how he'd supported every creative impulse even when it made no practical sense. He believed that art wasn't a luxury, Patricia said, her eyes distant with memory. He used to say that the world tries to make you practical and small, and art is how you stay human and large. That's beautiful, Kenneth said. He was beautiful. Kind and patient and so sure about what mattered. Patricia looked at her daughter. When Melissa came home to take care of him, he told me it was the proudest moment of his life. Not because she was sacrificing for him, but because she knew her own heart well enough to choose what mattered. Melissa's eyes were bright with tears. I didn't know he said that. There's a lot he said in those last weeks that I haven't told you yet. Waiting for the right moments. Patricia squeezed her daughter's hand, then looked at Kenneth. He also said that when Melissa found someone worth keeping, we'd know because she'd stop making herself small around them. She'd just be herself, full volume, no apologies. I've never seen her be anything else, Kenneth said, looking at Melissa. Then maybe you're worth keeping. After dinner, Kenneth helped with dishes while Melissa got her mother's evening medications organized. Patricia excused herself to her room, claiming exhaustion but not before giving Kenneth a meaningful look. She likes you, Melissa said when they were alone. That's huge. I like her too. She's exactly how I imagined. Kenneth dried the last plate. Thank you for this. For letting me be here. Thank you for being patient with me. I know these last couple weeks have been a lot of back and forth. You needed space to take care of your mom. That's not back and forth, that's being a good daughter. They moved to the front porch, sitting on the swing that overlooked the quiet street. It was early December now, the air cool and crisp, Christmas lights starting to appear on neighboring houses. Mom's show is this Saturday, Melissa said. Are you still planning to come? Wouldn't miss it. Unless you'd rather I didn't. No, I want you there. She leaned against his shoulder. She's nervous. Keeps second-guessing every piece, wondering if anyone will come. Kenneth thought about his conversation with Claire at the coffee shop but said nothing. That surprise could wait. People will come. Her work is beautiful. You haven't even seen most of it. I've seen the artist. That tells me everything I need to know. They sat in comfortable silence, the swing creaking gently. Kenneth felt more at peace than he had in weeks. Can I tell you something? Melissa said. Always. When I asked for space, part of me thought you wouldn't wait. That you'd decide I was too complicated, too much trouble, and just move on. She turned to look at him. But you didn't. You showed up at my school. You gave me time but you didn't disappear. You met my mom and didn't run when she interrogated you. Why would I run? Because this is real, Kenneth. This is my actual life, taking care of my mom, teaching middle schoolers, living in my childhood bedroom at 33. It's not glamorous or exciting or anything like what you're used to. It's exactly what I want to be used to. He took her hand. Melissa, I spent 7 years collecting things that didn't matter and avoiding anything that did. You're the first real thing I've wanted in longer than I can remember. Your life isn't something I'm tolerating to be with you. Your life is part of why I want to be with you. She kissed him then, soft and sweet, and Kenneth felt something click into place in his chest. When they pulled apart, Melissa was smiling. So we're doing this? Actually doing this? If you want to, I want to. Slow, but certain. Real, not perfect. Real, not perfect, Kenneth agreed. I can absolutely do that. The week passed in a blur of texts and phone calls. Kenneth worked on the coding game, which was starting to take real shape. Melissa sent him photos of her students' mural progress, a massive wall of colorful hands reaching toward a bright sun, each hand painted by a different kid. Friday night, Kenneth got a call from Claire at the coffee shop. Mr. Phillips, I wanted to give you a heads up. We've had an incredible response to the promotion for Patricia's show. I think we're going to have quite a crowd tomorrow. That's wonderful. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for making it possible. This is going to mean a lot to her. Saturday afternoon, Kenneth arrived at the coffee shop on Rutledge an hour before the show was set to start. The space had been transformed, Patricia's paintings hung on every available wall, small price tags discreetly placed beside each one. They were stunning, luminous landscapes, intimate portraits, abstracts that captured emotion in color and form. Claire was arranging refreshments. What do you think? I think Melissa was right. Her mother is incredibly talented. The promotion we did really worked. I've had people calling all week asking about prices, about Patricia's story. I think this is going to be special. By 6 o'clock, the coffee shop was packed. Kenneth stood in the back, watching people admire Patricia's work. Melissa arrived with her mother at 6:15, and Patricia's face when she saw the crowd was worth everything. "I don't understand," Patricia said, looking around in wonder. "How did all these people know?" Claire stepped forward. "We promoted it extensively. Your work deserves to be seen." Melissa caught Kenneth's eye across the room, and he saw the question there. He gave a small shrug. This was for her mother, not for credit. The evening was magical. People genuinely connected with Patricia's work. By 7:30, nearly half the paintings had red sold dots beside them. Patricia moved through the crowd gracefully, talking about her process, her inspiration, the 3 years since her husband's death that had transformed how she saw color and light. Kenneth bought 3 pieces, a landscape that reminded him of Cape Romaine, a portrait that captured something essential about resilience, and an abstract in blues and golds that looked like hope felt. At 8, as the crowd began to thin, Melissa found him. "You did this," she said quietly. "I just helped with promotion." Kenneth. Half of Charleston showed up to a coffee shop art opening for a painter they'd never heard of. That doesn't happen by accident. Your mom's work is extraordinary. People just needed to know about it. Melissa looked at him for a long moment, then took his hand. "Come with me." She led him outside, away from the noise and warmth, into the cool December night. "I can't believe you did this for her. For us. I wanted her to know her work matters. I wanted you to not have to worry about one more thing. Do you have any idea what this means? She's been so scared about putting herself out there again. Scared no one would care, that Dad was the only one who ever really believed in her talent." Melissa's voice caught. "And you made sure that tonight, she'd know that wasn't true. She deserves to know. Her work is beautiful." Melissa stepped closer. "I'm in love with you. I know it's fast, I know we agreed to take it slow, but I need you to know. I'm in love with you, Kenneth Phillips." Kenneth's heart stopped, then started again at double speed. "Say that again." "I love you. I love how you show up. I love how you see people clearly. I love that you turned off your phone and drove like a maniac to get me to my mom. I love that you waited when I asked for space. I love that you did all of this without asking for credit or recognition." She took his face in her hands. "I love you, and it terrifies me, but I'm done pretending I don't." Kenneth pulled her close, kissing her with everything he'd been holding back for weeks. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you too. I've loved you since you told me my art was terrible and refused to be impressed by anything except honesty." Melissa laughed, the sound bright and free. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this." They went back inside to find Patricia surrounded by admirers, glowing with happiness and accomplishment. When she saw Kenneth and Melissa holding hands, she winked at her daughter. The evening wound down around 9. Claire counted up the sales, 15 paintings sold, several more with serious interest. "This is extraordinary," Patricia said, still looking dazed. "I can't believe this is real." "It's real, Ma. Your work is incredible, and people see that." As they helped Claire clean up, Kenneth's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "How's the art show?" He typed back, "Perfect. I told her I love her." "And?" she said at first. "That's my boy. Bring her for Christmas." Kenneth looked at Melissa, laughing with her mother while they carefully wrapped unsold paintings, and felt his future shift into focus. 2 weeks later, on Christmas Eve, Kenneth drove Melissa and Patricia to Ohio. His mother welcomed them like long-lost family. His father engaged Patricia in an hour-long conversation about teaching and legacy. His sister's kids immediately adopted Melissa as their new favorite person, dragging her into elaborate games that seemed to have no rules. Christmas morning, Kenneth woke early and found Melissa already awake, standing at the window of his childhood bedroom, watching snow fall. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "More than okay. I'm happy." She leaned back against him. "Thank you for bringing us here. Mom needed this. A real Christmas, with family and noise and life. Thank you for coming." She turned in his arms. "I got you something. We said we weren't exchanging gifts. Elite." She pulled a small wrapped package from her suitcase. "Open it." Inside was a painting, small, maybe 8 by 10 inches. Abstract, full of color and movement and emotion. And in the corner, 2 figures, simplified but clearly together. "You painted this." "I did. It's us. At the beach, at Cape Romaine. The day before everything got complicated." She traced the edge of the frame. "I wanted to capture how I felt that day. Like everything was possible." Kenneth set the painting carefully aside and pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. "I lied too." Melissa's eyes went wide. "Kenneth, that better not be what I think it is." "It's not. I promise. We've only been together 3 months. I'm not that presumptuous. He handed her the box. But I wanted you to know I'm serious about this. About us. Inside the box was a key. Is this? A key to my house. I know you can't move in right now. I know your mom needs you close. But I want you to have space that's yours when you want it. A place to paint, to think, to just be. He took her hand. And whenever you're ready, months or years from now, I want you to know there's a home waiting for you. With me. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. You're sure about this? About me, about my mom, about all of it? I've never been more sure of anything. She kissed him, both of them aware of his family just downstairs, both of them not caring. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you too. They went downstairs to chaos, his sister's kids tearing into presents, his mother making enough breakfast to feed a small army, his father trying to assemble something that apparently didn't come with actual instructions. Patricia pulled Kenneth aside while Melissa was helping his mother in the kitchen. You're good for her, Patricia said simply. She's lighter with you. More herself. She's good for me too. She makes me want to be better. Toi. That's how it's supposed to work. Patricia squeezed his arm. My husband would have liked you. He believed in people who showed up and stayed. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Because my daughter is the best thing in this world, and she deserves someone who knows that. I do know that. Every day. The rest of the holiday weekend passed in a blur of family, food, and laughter. Kenneth taught his nephew more coding, started planning an actual beta version of the educational game. Melissa painted with his sister's kids, turning chaos into art. Patricia and his mother became immediate friends, talking for hours about children and art and loss and resilience. On the drive back to Charleston, Patricia fell asleep in the back seat. Melissa held Kenneth's hand over the center console. Your family is wonderful, she said. They loved you. My mother already asked when we're coming back for Easter. Easter. That's months away. You're thinking that far ahead? I'm thinking years ahead, Melissa. Decades, if you'll let me. She was quiet for a moment. I'm thinking the same thing. It scares me how much I'm thinking the same thing. Good scared or bad scared? The best scared. The kind that means it's real. 6 months later, in June of 2025, Kenneth stood in Melissa's classroom at Sanders Academy, looking at the walls covered in student art. This is incredible, he said, studying a self-portrait by the kid Melissa had mentioned, Jaden, the one who could draw faces with photographic accuracy. They've grown so much this year. I'm going to miss them when they move up to high school next year. You'll get a new batch to fall in love with. True. She finished packing up her supplies. You ready for tonight? Tonight was the community center mural unveiling. 6 months of work by Melissa's kids, finally complete. The mural was massive, 20 feet wide, 15 feet tall, covering the entire side of the building. The kids had painted it themselves under Melissa's supervision, and it was magnificent. Hands of every color reaching toward a sun that radiated warmth and hope. At the bottom, small signatures from each young artist. The neighborhood gathered for the unveiling. Kenneth stood with Patricia, who was doing well, medications adjusted, energy back, painting regularly and selling consistently through Claire's coffee shop. Melissa stood with her kids, all of them nervous and excited. When the sheet dropped and the mural was revealed, the crowd erupted in applause. Kenneth watched Melissa's face light up with pride, watched her hug each of her students, watched her create a moment these kids would remember for the rest of their lives. This, he thought. This is what matters. That night, after the celebration, Kenneth and Melissa walked along the Battery. The June air was warm, jasmine-scented, perfect. I have something to tell you, Kenneth said. Good something or bad something? Good something. Great something. He stopped walking. I finished the game. The educational coding game. And I showed it to a few education technology companies. 3 of them want to buy it and distribute it to schools. Melissa threw her arms around him. Kenneth, that's incredible. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I wanted to be sure it was real. But it is. They're talking about getting it into underserved schools, making it free for kids who can't afford coding classes. He pulled back to look at her. You did this. You told me to build it because it mattered to me. You made me believe it was worth doing. You did the work. You gave me the courage. They stood there in the lamplight, the harbor behind them, their whole future ahead. Melissa Goodman, Kenneth said softly. I know we agreed to take things slow. I know it's only been 8 months. But I need to ask you something. Kenneth. Not that. Not yet. He smiled. I need to ask if you'd consider, eventually, maybe moving in with me. You and Patricia. I have plenty of space. She could have her own suite, her own studio. You could paint, she could paint. We could be a family. Melissa's eyes widened. You want my mom to live with us? I want you both. I love you, and she's part of you. I'm not asking you to choose. I need to think about it. Talk to her. Of course. No pressure. Just know the offer stands whenever you're ready. 2 weeks later, Melissa and Patricia came for dinner at Kenneth's house. He'd prepared the guest suite, setting up an easel and art supplies, making sure the light was good for painting. Patricia stood in the doorway of what could be her space, tears streaming down her face. You did this for me? I did this for both of you. Family takes care of family. Patricia hugged him tight. Yes. We'll move in. But only if you promise to always be this good to my daughter. That's the easiest promise I'll ever make. They moved in over Labor Day weekend. Kenneth's house transformed from a showplace into a home, Melissa's paintings on the walls, Patricia's work in progress on easels, art supplies and laughter and life everywhere. In October, Kenneth took Melissa back to Cape Romaine, to the beach where they'd spent that perfect day before everything got complicated. They walked along the shore, shoes off, the autumn sun warm on their shoulders. I love you, Kenneth said, stopping to face her. I love everything about you. I love your honesty. I love how you see the world. I love watching you teach. I love how you take care of your mom. I love coming home to you every single day. I love you too, Melissa said, smiling. Is there a reason you're listing all the things you love right now? There is, actually. Kenneth pulled a small box from his pocket and dropped to one knee in the sand. Melissa's hands flew to her mouth. Melissa Goodman, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life showing up for you, being honest with you, building something real with you? Yes. She was crying, laughing, pulling him up. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, a simple band with a single stone, elegant and unpretentious, exactly her style. I love you so much, she said, kissing him. I can't believe this is my life. Believe it. This is real. This is us. They got married the following June, exactly 2 years after they'd met at that gallery opening. The wedding was small, family and close friends at a garden venue in Charleston, surrounded by flowers and art and love. Patricia cried through the entire ceremony. Kenneth's mother and sister welcomed Melissa like they'd been waiting for her all along. The kids from Melissa's art class attended, dressed up and on their best behavior, presenting the newlyweds with a collaborative painting they'd made as a gift. During their first dance, Melissa whispered in Kenneth's ear, "Thank you for waiting for me. For being patient. For seeing me. Thank you for being honest with me. For showing me what real looks like." What does real look like? Kenneth pulled back to look at her, his wife, his partner, his best friend. Like this. Exactly like this. 3 years later, Kenneth stood in their home office, watching Melissa paint while Patricia played with their daughter in the next room. Isabella was 18 months old, born in December of 2027, with her mother's eyes and her father's smile. The coding game had become Kenneth's full-time work. It was in schools across the country now, helping thousands of kids learn to code. Melissa still taught at Sanders Academy, still ran the community center art program, still made the world brighter everywhere she went. Patricia's art was in galleries across the Southeast. She was healthy, active, thriving. Kenneth's walls were covered in art now, Melissa's paintings, Patricia's work, pieces from local artists they discovered together, drawings from Isabella's creative experiments. Every single piece meant something. What are you thinking about? Melissa asked, setting down her brush. How different my life is from what I thought it would be. How much better it is. Better than what? Better than the life I was building before I met you. Better than checking boxes and collecting things that didn't matter. He crossed to her, kissed her paint-stained fingers. You changed everything. You changed everything too. You showed me I was allowed to be happy. Allowed to want something for myself. From the other room, they heard Isabella laugh, pure, bright, free. We should probably rescue your mom, Melissa said. Probably. But first, Kenneth pulled her close. I love you. I love our life. I love everything we've built together. I love you too. Every day more than the day before. They went to join Patricia and Isabella, to the noise and chaos and beautiful mess of their real, imperfect, absolutely perfect life. Kenneth Phillips had spent 37 years doing what he was supposed to do, collecting things that didn't matter, checking boxes that left him empty. And then a woman at a gallery had asked him what he actually liked, and everything had changed. He'd found something real. Someone real. A life that mattered not because it looked right from the outside, but because it felt right from the inside. That, Kenneth thought as he watched his wife and daughter and mother-in-law paint together, was worth more than anything he'd ever collected. This was art. This was love. This was life. This was everything. Do not forget to subscribe and tell us which story you will like to hear next.